Okay, we're starting a new unit on relations and functions, and I want you to take a look at what we've done before and how that compares to what we're doing now. Before, we did one variable equations. You have one variable, just x, and then you would solve the equation. You would solve the equation and then you'd be done. What we're doing now is we're working with two variables, and so what we're going to do is we're going to plug a number in for x, and this is pizza topping. So let's say we buy pizza with pepperoni, sausage, and mushroom. So you have 3 toppings. You plug that number in, and you get an answer for y, and now you have 2 numbers for your answer because you had 2 variables. And so that's what we're working on now. So before we get into those calculations, let's talk about what a relation is. So when you think of relations, think of some famous couples that we know and how they are matched together. And so these couples, they're in a relationship. They have relations. And you can see the definition. Relations are how two things are connected. In math, we connect numbers together, just like you saw on the previous handout, the previous page. And so we want to talk about matching numbers together, and that's relations, and that's what we're talking about now. So let's talk about how we can show relations. First, we can show relations by looking at pictures, and that's what we have here. You can show relations by doing something we call a mapping, and the mapping is when you draw arrows to show who is connected with whom. Another way to show a relation is through a table, and here we have the him, and then we have the her group, and they're just matched up straight across. You can also write them as ordered pairs, so you can show the two together in parentheses, just like you've seen when you plot points. And then the last way that you can write a relation is kind of like in a word problem, just using words, a verbal description. So in math, we have the same thing. You can show a relation through a picture. So each of these dots represents an ordered pair, like this one would be 5, 2. And that's a relation. It shows two numbers that are paired together. You can have the mapping like we did before. You can have the table. You can have the ordered pairs. And you can have a verbal description, a kind of a word problem. So now I'd like you to try this handout. What you're going to do is you're going to show the relations in different ways, and the relation that we want to focus on is ticket price and income. And you can see that the information is given to you in table form, and these are your pairs, your couples, and then you're going to rewrite these mapping by drawing arrows. You're going to write them in ordered pairs, ticket price first, and then you're going to put the income in the second spot. And then you're going to plot these points over here. So try that now. And as part of relations, we have terms we call input and output. Think of you pushing the button on a Coke machine. That's the input. And what happens is there are drinks that are paired up with the buttons, and so the drink, the Coke bottle that you get would be your output. So you have the input and then the output, and they are paired together as a relation. And so we have the same thing here. Your input could be A-Rod, and then A-Rod is matched up with J-Lo, and that's what the mapping shows us. And J-Lo would be the output. You have an input of Joe Alwyn. I'm not even sure how to pronounce his name because I'm just not cool whatsoever. And the output would be Taylor Swift. You can also write these as ordered pairs. Input is A-Rod, output is J-Lo. So in math, we can do the same thing. You can have an input and an output, and they are matched together as a pair. 1 and 6 go together. You can actually write these as ordered pairs. 4 is the input, and the 3 is the output. So what I'd like you to do now is to try to identify the input and output for Rihanna. So you can hit pause and write this answer down, and then you can hit play. Okay, the input would be $75 for a ticket, and then the output would be $90 million in income. Pretty nice. So this whole thing here right here is a relation showing you a pairing of objects or things or numbers or couples. And then what you're going to see next is a special function in the next video, and this a special relation called a function, and that is the next video.